Test, test. Microphone. Ay, ay, ay. This chat. This. Okay, looks like I got sound. Got sound. Test. Yes. Okay. Sorry, I had a whole stream, half a stream without any sound, and freaked me out. Made me a little bit, yeah, on edge about that. Hey, good morning. It is 8:01 a.m. on Wednesday, the 12th of February, 2025. That's 212-2025. That's a lot of twos. Stacking up those twos. Good morning. This stream, I created this stream because my day job is to help people get into developing, get into the world of tech and through programming. And we have students who go through our program, and we can promise to get them the skills that they need. We can't promise to get them a job. So this is my way of bridge that gap a little bit in the sense that when you're out there in the job search, the person who's going to be the most successful is the one who just sticks to it, has a good routine, a good rhythm, good habits about getting up early, getting at the latest job postings, and getting their apps out so they get the top of the pile, top of the stack is what you want to be. And the best way to do that is, again, just consistency every day. So I created this stream, 8 to 9 a.m., Monday through Friday, as a place to just come hang out while you're getting out those. I heard a beep. And I don't. Still getting used to the software. Okay, so the stream is just a place to hang out while you're getting those apps out, right? In it, I talk about the job trends and what the job postings are like out there, how things are going. We talk about news, we talk about tech, and we answer any questions that you might have. I have been a professional developer for over 35 years. Over 30 years. Um, uh, Close coming up onto 35 years. And I've done a lot of different kinds of things. I worked for large companies, worked for small companies, did a lot of contract work, had my own startups for those. Been through the process. I have done a lot of things the last 30 plus years. So if you have questions about any and all of that, I'm happy to chime in and give you some life experience, which may or may not be helpful. But join me and hang out, have a drink, have a beverage. Normally, I have a tea, an unsweetened tea that I put sweet, and I got a new one, a green tea, because I thought that would be better for me. And I just went cold into it, opened it up right before the stream started, and I do not like the flavor of it. It is not good. So that one's going to sit on the side. Picked up a little V8 and some water here, and that's what's going to get me through the hour. But have a beverage of yourself, hopefully caffeine, get you up, get you fired up, get you ready to attack the day. And let's get into it. Again, say hey. Let me know where you're from. I'm from Austin, Texas. I've been in Austin, Texas since the 80s, and seen a lot of change in Austin, Texas. We've got South by Southwest coming up. Don't know what to do about the stream for South by Southwest. I don't have the normal badge to get to the regular South by Southwest. This year, the employer was not going to pay for it. And there are plenty of free things to do around town to mix and mingle and expand your network without having to pay the $1,000 plus for the badge. So I'm going to stick to the free stuff this year and kind of see If you are an if you are an Austinite and you'll be doing things at South by Southwest, it's a way to kind of get out there and shake hands and grow your network and hopefully find some connections that might get you a job. We'll talk about it that week. Do a meetup in person. We're downtown, and that would be cool. Cool. So let's talk about job. Talk about job numbers. Let's talk about job numbers. So every day I get up and I check Indeed.com. Indeed.com um, does not have every job posted, but has between 15 and 20%, as noted by market experts. So that is a statistically significant number of jobs being posted. From that, we can get trend lines, and trend lines are helpful just to get a sense of where the industry is going. Um, I have focused primarily for the last nearly 1,000 days. We have over 900 days. I've been collecting data. Uh, I have been focused on JavaScript developers because that's primarily what our students learn in our program. And these are all entry level because, again, that's been our focus. I'm shifting that. I'm opening up. We'll take a look at those numbers in a second. But the numbers have not been great in the last couple of weeks. They've been pretty flat. This is a 7-day average. It's looking pretty flat. It's slightly trending down, but that'll all flatten out come tomorrow when we lose this day here a week ago. But if we look at the last 6 months, we'll see that the trend line is heading up, not as steep as I would like, but again, we want to focus on what we can control, and that is good news to help boost our mood and keep us motivated and moving forward. And then when we look at the last year, again, pretty flat in the last year. We had a better spring than we did a summer and fall, which were pretty miserable. Going into the holiday season post election, we had a little bit of a bump, and then things flattened out. I really was hoping they would just take off like a rocket in February, but we had weather, we had fires in California, we had now in the last week uncertainty in the markets because the administration, which has come in, is doing a lot of things with a pen. It's shaking things up, and markets don't like uncertainty. They just don't. Um, let's look at what is the okay. I am on LinkedIn multiple times a day, every day. If you have not connected with me, please do reach out on LinkedIn. I love to grow my network um, of people working in tech, whether they're in Austin or not. It's also a good place to just check their little news feed here. They tend to have stories that are pertinent to both tech and or the larger business. And so there are a couple of those stories today. Federal Reserve is in no hurry to cut interest rates again, given its commitment to slowing inflation and the overall strength of the economy. In remarks on Tuesday, Jerome Powell said that the central bank would hold rates steady if price growth didn't cool further or resume cutting rates if the economy should weaken. Um, the short version is that low interest rates are good for business. They're good for individuals who want to save money too, but they're definitely better for business who gets access to cheap money. When interest rates are low, Um, they can borrow money, and that's what we see. We'd like to see things get moving, things get kicking again in this economy, which is it stalled after in the last month, which is not what I was hoping to see. YouTube's TV viewing passes mobile. YouTube is the new television. Passes mobile. I don't know if passes mobile. Let's see. He said that more people watch YouTube on their TVs in the US than over mobile, and that YouTube is revolutionary in terms I that's a good question. What do I think about that? Do I watch more on my TV than not on my TV? I watch a lot of YouTube. Like sometimes I'll sit down and I want to show my wife something. Oh, I saw this today, and then I'm like scrolling through my history. How did I watch this many videos today? I don't know. Um, but I do have YouTube on my TV. I watch it there with meals. I watch it there in the evenings before I go to bed. Yeah, I think I probably watch more on TV than not. I'm a YouTube Red subscriber. I have I pay the extra money so I don't commercials. That's a bit of a revelation. I figured that's a little hack out, and I'm never going back to watching commercials on YouTube if I can help it. As a matter of fact, I'm starting some secondary YouTube channels to do some experiments, and but I'm not paying for Red for all those. So when I'm accidentally like logged into the wrong account and I click on a YouTube video, I start seeing commercials. I'm like, oh, gotta change accounts. Gotta change accounts. Can't stand those commercials. Can't stand them. No. Do you watch more YouTube on the TV or on your mobile device? Uh, I do when I go out for walks around the neighborhood. On my daily walks, I will have YouTube typically playing on my phone and then listening to it through headphones. It's usually a long form podcast or something, video podcast on YouTube, and it will keep me engaged even though I'm not looking at the screen. Um, but I do notice it is a generational thing. I think my kids will be down in the living room and the TV will not be on. I'll just be more likely it's Instagram, frankly, but videos on their phone. I'm like, it's right there. The TV's right there. They also have better eyes than I do currently. So there you go. YouTube. Consumer price rise half a point in January, higher than expected. Annual rate rises to 3%. Again, these are always conflicting signals. Um, you know, Jerome Powell says uh, he wants to cool things off, um, and now we're getting these. We're seeing inflation's up just a tick. What does that mean? Inflation was high, interest rates were low, down to zero basically. As inflation came down and started cooling, started to raise those rates. Most people agreed that he's sort of found a decent balance to kind of flatten that inflation out, but now it's starting to tick up again. Now it's starting to tick up. Tick up means interest rate cuts. Come on, man. Come on. Give us a little something. A little something indeed. Watching Google News. I check Google News every morning, primarily because of the streams. I I don't. It's just more convenient for the stream to check the news out here. But generally, I don't check the news here on the days when I'm not streaming or not streaming. But it's convenient news aggregation. Let's see. Inflation ticking up. Politics, nonsense stories. What do we got? What do we got? Mhm. Da, 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 da. 3D printed robot swarm could help in landmine clearance. There, I'd be curious. I've never looked into it, but like, what parts of the world have a lot of land? Are we still using landmines? Like, it seems like there's always an every other year or whatever. There's no some new story about different kind of tech to explode landmines. I'm like, Jesus, they're still using landmines. I thought that was all outlawed a long time ago. Oops, sorry. Concerned that Bitcoin is going to drop below 100K. I thought it has been below 100K for quite a while now. Not a big uh, crypto guy. I picked up a little bit here and there just to test the waters, um, but yeah, it's at 95 right now. It was up to like 105. It was like 10K higher not that long ago. So uh, it feels like the honeymoon's over with the new administration. There's a lot of hype. Businesses were very excited. There was lots of excitement about the new administration coming in, and it's going to be the crypto president. And so that hyped up the Bitcoin price. Bitcoin, of course, like all these things you can throw your money into, whether it's Pokemon cards or whatever, is so spec. It's just the whim of the crowds that, that pushes that price all over the place. I saw this headline yesterday: Kickstarter will alert backers when a project has failed. That's an interesting thing. I've been an early adopter before Kickstarter was open to the public. It was just in the closed beta. I got an invite because I knew a guy who knew a guy, and I ran a Kickstarter project that ended up being successfully funded. But like a lot of early ones, by dummies like me, we didn't really know what we were getting into. We kind of overpromised with stuff. I was able to, get my promised products out to everybody, but it took almost 3 years. Like I said, it's going to be 5 months and or 6 months, and almost 3 years later before I started to actually get the shipping of the product out. And during that time, like people are not happy with you, and I made all the mistakes, all the mistakes. Uh, the one mistake I didn't make was I stuck with it. It ended up costing me twice as much as I raised in Kickstarter. But you live and you learn, right? With that stuff, and uh, but like, how do they know it's going to be a failed project? I've also backed a ton of Kickstarters, probably several dozen over the years, and been some failures in there, even some big ones. I think I paid $400 for one that I never got. Most of them do succeed, especially now. People are a lot smarter, and there's a lot of guidance about like some obvious mistakes that you shouldn't make. And you know, scams happen. Of course, scams happen, but Those are a smaller number. Mainly, it's just people getting over their head, don't really know what they're doing, and, uh, and it's just hard. Hardware is hard. Um, Projects, if you're trying to shoot a movie, I backed a movie, which I don't do very much, short film, um, and they had intentions, um, and the shoot just keeps getting pushed back, getting pushed back. There's so many factors in this stuff, right? Uh, I don't think anybody tried to scam anybody, but the reality is that you're anybody who's trying to create a new thing, we all have rose-colored glasses on in this process. We look at it and go, "Hey, this is going to be great." Like I see this thing that nobody else has seen, and um, and as soon as I, create this thing and unleash it on the world, everybody will be able to see what I see right now, which is just amazing. There's no problems with it. Everybody will love this thing. That delusion that you have to have as a creative individual. Um, the product development, of course, very creative. So many different aspects of it. That idea that you you have to delude yourself about the certain realities because it's going to be harder than you expect in order to get through all the trials and tribulations to bring a thing into the world. Just it's going to be a struggle, and you gotta hold on to that vision, that beautiful rose-colored vision. Um, so getting back to the story, Kickstarter will alert backers when the projects fail. I don't know. Would they have told everybody that my project had failed, even though I was very late? I don't know how that works. I mean, it's got to be self-reported, right? At the end of the day, the person who's making the thing. I haven't read the article yet, but it's interesting. Interesting. It's been a lot of the thing about people who have a good experience with Starter and go back and back another project and back another project. One thing that they do learn, which is a little different, which is interesting. You go to Walmart, you buy a thing. You go to Target, you buy a thing. You go to Amazon, you buy a thing, and it just shows up. You have no sense of how that thing was made. You just see a thing that it looks like it might be helpful, it might change your life, it might divert you for a moment, and you look at the price and go like, that's worth it. I'll give that a shot. I'll take a risk on that. But you have no sense of how it gets there. The thing that's interesting about Kickstarter is it's really kind of educated a lot of people about the process because the best Kickstarter process projects will give regular updates, especially if it is a physical device and that thing is being created in China. I've backed a number of uh, pieces of technology over the last 10 years. Um, and, getting video, going to the Chinese factory. And, right now, Chinese New Year is going on. And when Chinese New Year's goes on, the whole country shuts down. China is an interesting country in that it's mostly rural, um, but rural farmers and people in rural villages don't very much make much money. They're all, shockingly. And one of the ways that they manage is they send their kids off to the big city to get a factory job making iPhones and such, right? So they send their children off to go make some money and send some money back home. And the factories are just filled with these people that didn't were born in the city, didn't grow up in the city, don't really understand um, modern life in a lot of ways. Um, and there's an expectation when it's time for Chinese New Year to come home because it's about family, it's about your ancestors. And so it's essentially the month of February is a national holiday for China. So like if you don't get your orders done and out of the factory and on the ship before the beginning of Chinese New Year, you're just out of luck. Sorry, you're gonna have to wait 4 weeks before everybody comes back from their rural village um, to get back to work. And that's just the way that the country works. It's the life in China. And in America, where everything's go go go, we have to be 10x employees everywhere. We got to be automation and working around the clock, and nobody gets break. Sleeps for quitters, and Elon sleeping under the conference room. Like those, there's a bit of a culture clash there when you're dealing with that. This is one of the reasons. Um, a lot of people are excited about bringing manufacturing back to the United States. Just we don't have to wait for this stuff to be put on a slow boat from China. Um, and so this idea of kind of your average person getting a little insight into the way products are designed and the way they're printed, uh, plastic injected, molded, electronically wired, and circuit boards created, testing in this process. I backed this Kickstarter a couple of years ago for it's called Shruly. It's a mushroom little. They make those little inside gardens so you can grow little vegetables and stuff. And this is one for mushrooms. So it's a cute little device, and you can grow your own mushrooms. And I have a friend who has a whole mushroom business, and I was like, that'd be cool. Like, little something over here. It's like a little desk thing that you put on the, and it's just slowly growing these mushrooms. Right? And my wife's vegetarian. I eat a ton of vegetables myself, so it's like, oh, that'd be fun. And so I backed that project, and oh man, it's been a mess. A mess. They hit every problem. They did not raise a bunch of money. They had to go back and do another Indiegogo, and then after that, they were also selling them on other platforms. They're pissing off the original backers. It's been a real mess. It's supposed to have shipped many times, but most recently in December it was supposed to ship, and then it got pushed out. And then they actually started shipping to Europe, I think, in December, but the U.S., where most of their sales were, wasn't going to be shipped until after the first of the year. And they don't update very often, but it's interesting. Again, I'm a person who's had my own startups. I've brought 8 products to market, so including one from a Kickstarter. So I always have a soft spot for people who are trying to be creative and bring a new thing into the world that never existed. I've been through that process. I know the challenges of it, and it's an interesting idea. I'd like to support people. Okay, what else do we got? Technology. What's in the technology news? Refresh. Always lots of phone stuff. I guess there's just constantly a never-ending stream of phones coming out, so it's easy to fill the news with. But I just don't. The incremental improvement that each new iPhone is, or Pixel, we've just sort of leveled out from a technology standpoint. I really don't see, some huge breakthrough. It's all just like tweaking design, a little bit of something in there. It's just marginal. This is the problem that people were having with the iPhone. Was like they were going 2, 3 releases before upgrading, because there just wasn't a compelling reason to change. Whereas 10, 15 years ago, in the early days, new technology, there's lots of competition. New technology was coming out with new ideas. Things were getting miniaturized and more powerful, and it felt like an upgrade when you got a phone. It doesn't really feel like an upgrade. It just feels like a different. The form factor is a little different, a little bit wider. Buttons are over here instead of over there. But billion-dollar AI company nobody is talking about. Why you should care. What is that? Well, AI giants burn cash. One company quietly makes billions without hype. Mhm. Okay. Oh my gosh. This is where we've come. ZDNet used to be legit. Why are we going one column inches before we get to the story? It's all just an ad play in news, unfortunately. It's all just an ad play. Inescotable, we saw that yesterday. We're getting lots of old news in our news. Lots of old news in our news. 2 days ago, 3 days ago. Uh, Apple's doing their heart rate monitoring. Power beats. I do use the wireless headphones when I'm out on my walks around the neighborhood, but I also have a bad habit of losing them, so I do not pay $250 for headphones. Uh, not not $250 for headphones. If I had an unlimited budget, I still wouldn't pay 250 for headphones. That seems a little silly. Pokemon Go. Everybody's playing. What's the other one? Pokemon something. My when Pokemon Go came out in 2016, 2015, something like that. My kids were very young, and we were playing Pokemon Go all the time, every day. We were driving across town so we could get different Pokemon and stuff. And then my son faded, and then my daughter, she held it up for a while, and she faded, and then I was the only one playing Pokemon Go, and I was like, all right, I gotta give this a break. And then they came out with this simplified version of the card game, and everybody's all hot about it again. Everybody's all hot about it. We had a gaming shop um, that was not too far from us, and we used to go because we play the little tournaments that they have there for the card game, TCG, and that was our regular kind of weekend fun thing that we did. And then the pandemic hit, and that small business went out of business, unfortunately. So we didn't really have a gaming shop. We kind of call around in South Austin, um, and I just found out a couple of weeks ago that our old gaming shop is reopening. They've got a new location. They've been talking about it for a long time, but they are back. We've not been yet. My daughter is at college, and she's got a local game shop in San Marcos where she is. Uh, Something Strike Games. Something Strike Games. And she likes going to that game shop. Um, Now that she's an adult and has her own money and choose what her day is going to be like, she's starting to branch out and go to her own game shop. But I think this weekend, what's going on this weekend? I don't really have a whole lot going on this weekend. Maybe we'll get over to the game shop. I think that they're going to do like a grand opening, which they haven't scheduled yet. But we might sneak on by before the grand opening. We're still getting stuff ready. Let's see. AI chatbots have significant inaccuracies when summarizing news. Yeah. They're not fax machines. They're not fax machines. They're just not fax machines. They're not fact machines. Use them for what they're good at. Da, da, da. Overreliance on Copilot and ChatGPT make you dumb. Yeah, we read some of these stories yesterday. Um, yeah, I mean, again, there are things that we value in our life and that we put time and effort into, and then there are things that we just have to get done with. We have to get through. You know, it's just the thing that needs to happen. And if there is a simpler way to get that thing done, that we don't like to do, doesn't engage us. If there's a shortcut to be had for a thing that we don't care about, yeah, we're going to use that shortcut. That's the way the world works. That's the way humans work. And this is a shortcut in a lot of different ways. Right? Um, so, will it make us dumb? Uh, Again, if you don't have anything that engages you, that you are putting all of your time and energy and cognition into, if you don't have that baked into who you are as a person, um, you just reach out for every crutch that you can, kind of fast forward through life. Yeah, it's probably going to make you a little more atrophied, but frankly, you probably weren't in a high place to start out already. You just weren't, right? But we professionals who are in careers where we have to, you know, challenge ourselves mentally, have to focus, have to solve problems. Generally speaking, I'm not as worried about us, you know, um, because it's our training, it's our brains work, right? My wife uh, went to college and went to law school, and she came out of college not knowing anything about how to practice law, but she knew how to think like a lawyer, right? That's what they do. They train you to think like a lawyer. Um, then she had to go learn the practice, the trade of being a lawyer, by getting her first job. Uh, but in that process, again, you know, you're just being challenged mentally in so many different ways, right? And as a human being who's not a lawyer, who maybe needs some legal advice, gonna one day use a ChatGPT and get good advice out of it, and then maybe not have to learn to think like a lawyer. Sure, okay, right. Um, but they were never on that track anyway. That just wasn't the outcome that was going to happen. So I don't know. I'm not super worried about this. Uh, Again, it is the tool that is most likely to be the thing that does challenge us if we use it that way. Again, if you don't have a goal in life, if you don't have a plan, if you don't have uh, a focus in your life, you'll be able to sleepwalk through the world. But there are plenty of people that do that already. They don't need AI's help to be mentally unchallenged. They're doing pretty good on their own with that. Um, if anything, they'll at least have a knowledgeable somebody that they can reach out to instead of their other dumb, unmotivated friends that they hang out with. So, like, I think net, it's gonna help us out. Maybe a little Pollyannish there. There's certainly a bunch of bad stuff that's come um, with AI, no doubt about it. Going to be a lot of job loss, confusion, and people can concern in the streets causing problems. This is inevitable. Uh, I have a kid in college and a kid graduating from high school this year in just a few months, and you know, counseling them on what they can learn and focus on learning in college, and you know what careers they should move towards. I've never been one to push them towards a career. My personal path was uh, I did a lot of experimentation in the 20s in terms of like trying this thing. I did theater, um, video production work. I did uh, I did a bunch of different odd jobby kind of things, trying to figure out what my thing was, and then finally kind of settled on programming in the mid '90s. Uh, and then I was kind of I found a thing that was endlessly challenging. It was constantly changing, new things were happening all the time. It felt like as I was sort of growing into a world, the world was sort of growing into itself at the same time, and I was in the right place at the right time. And, that's carried me through here, 30 plus years later. Right? Um, but but um, you know, kids are going to they're growing up into a world where things are going to be radically different. You know, my brother and I both ended up working in tech. He ended up working for Microsoft. I ended up working in a more sort of varied career, but we had this opportunity to sort of grab. And we grew up lower middle class. We grew up with parents who didn't go to college. We grew up with in an environment where we were moving a lot because we couldn't afford the rent at a different place, being evicted occasionally, having cars repossessed. We did not come from a family of wealth, but you know, the world opened up in a way that if you were smart and engaged and interested and took a risk, you could benefit from. So, uh, you know, it's going to be interesting to see kind of what opportunities are available for my children. The future's cloudy. It's a bit of a fog. We don't really know what's going to happen. Um, but if you're smart, if you challenge yourself, if you're willing to engage, the people who can problem solve, can solve problems, you know, effectively and efficiently. There are always going to be people who have problems, who have more problems than money. Yeah. How are we doing time? Okay, 15 minutes. Good, good, good. Just to reiterate, if you're new here, if you just joined the stream, my name is Keith, and I am in Austin, Texas. I run a stream from 8 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday, which is designed to be kind of a hangout for people who are working in tech, looking to get into tech, who are out there hustling, getting out job applications. And this is just an appointment stream. Set your alarm clock, get up with me, grab a caffeinated beverage, and hang out while you're hitting the job boards, going to Indeed, going to LinkedIn, going to Monster, going to all the small and medium sized job boards, hustling, looking for opportunities off the beaten path, you know, grinding it out, doing what it takes to get there. First one's always the hardest if you're trying to change careers. Um, but I've been managing a coding boot camp for 3.5 years before you know it. And I taught for them for 4 or 5 years before that. And seen a lot of people come through programs, change careers, restaurant managers, nurses, teachers who were just like, I'm tired of what I've been doing. It's time to learn some new skills and branch out, learning the skills, building the portfolio, getting out there hustling and getting those opportunities. I've seen it happen over and over and over in the last decade. Yeah. And it can happen for you too. You just gotta keep hustling. 5090s. They're still talking about that. Okay, this is 21 hours ago, yesterday. 5090s. I've been reading a lot, and I heard a friend told me about Gemini, um, the new Gemini drop, and a couple of really cool things about it, and I have not had a chance to mess with it at all. But evidently, that new Gemini is notable, impressive. Forget Microsoft. Another company apparently wanted to buy Nintendo back in the. Could have been bought by this unexpected company. Activision founder says. Oh, Berkshire Hathaway. That feels like a bullet was dodged. Berkshire Hathaway buying Nintendo, carving it up, selling some pizzas. Yeah, yeah. I want to live in that timeline. Uh, Two-day old news. Two-day old news. Two-day old news. Two-day old news. Intel's back in the news. Two-day old news. Again, haven't spent a whole lot of time in Google News. I wonder if you can say only the last 24 hours. Filter for the last 24 hours. I only want the freshest news. Fresh. Okay. More Scarlett Johansson and AI news. Interesting. Celebrities protest Kanye West and fake AI videos. Scarlett Johansson makes a steep featuring Phillips takes a swing at Kanye over blatant anti-Semitism. Scarlett Johansson slams AI video slamming Kanye West's anti-Semitism. Um, we must call out the misuse of AI, no matter its messaging. Features the likes of Jack Black, Mila Kunis, Drake, Steven Spielberg, and more wearing shirts with the star David and the name Kanye on it. Didn't see that video yesterday. Yeah, I've got a bit of a love-hate relationship with uh, Scarlett Johansson. She doesn't quite connect with me. She's great as Black Widow, but a lot of her other roles didn't really do very much for me. But um, she and her team have been on top of standing up for her rights, man. Her lawsuit with Disney, lawsuit against OpenAI. She's getting paid by protecting her rights and her own IP. That's interesting. I have to watch the video she doesn't want anybody to watch. Court training AI model based on copyrighted data is not fair use of law. What court said that? Hmm. Uh, Can't tell if this is in the US. Um, yeah, looks like it's probably in the US. Google search. Yeah, it's a US lawsuit. Interesting. All this stuff was going to come out in the wash at the end of the day. In the United States and in Europe, it's going to be settled with the courts. We've talked about this in the past. China does not have the same issues. They're not beholden to this idea of I own my content and you can't use it for training purposes. Communist society, or at least a faux communist society like China, there's no presumption that you have any rights whatsoever. So everything belongs to the collective. So this is, definitely going to give China an unfair advantage in the AI space. Uh, don't know if it's enough, but it will be interesting to see. Federal law rules legal research startup Ross infringed on Westlaw's rights, rejecting fair use defense. Well, that's a little more specific. Yeah, because Westlaw stuff is all under the paywall. It's not out in public. So yeah, that actually makes sense. Again, it's like authors who sell a book. That book is really only exists. The contents of that book is supposed to only exist for people who pay. And if you get a copy of that as a PDF that somebody scanned and shared on the internet, and you train with it, you didn't pay for it. There's not an expectation that that information was ever supposed to be free to start off with. Unlike most of the training data that is out on the internet, which people just create websites and blogs and outlets to give away tons of information. I'm an expert about this thing, and I create a bunch of blog posts or informational stuff on our website to give you proof that I'm an expert, so then you could maybe purchase my services or products. Right? This is the way that the internet has worked. Right? It's been built upon the idea of giving away more value than you ask for as a way to grow an audience. I give and I give and I give and I give, and then I ask. And by that time, you're like, well, he's giving me so much. You're like, I almost got to buy his dumb thing for $20. This has been the way that business has worked for the last 15 years online. So, you know, scores of people, millions of people have openly shared tons of information for free on the internet. And then uh, bots come by and scrape all that data and use it as training data. Technically, yes, that stuff is copywritten as soon as they write it and publish it, and it belongs to the individual. But it's completely different if you say, like, I, have created this thing, everybody in the world can look at it. And like, I have a gate wall, I've created a bunch of stuff behind that gate. People behind that gate are the ones who pay for it. And to find out that these people are surreptitiously breaking the TOS and paying for the service, logging in and scraping all the data, and then building their own platform on top of that. Yeah, that feels like a clear, unambiguous breaking of the law in that instance. And the other thing to talk about in the United States is that having a trademark, having a copyright, having a patent, it only gives you the right to sue people who use that patent. There are no patent police. There are no copyright cops. There are no trademark, something that starts with T that is being police force. Uh, they're not out there searching for copyright infringement, trademark infringement, patent infringements. It's up to you to identify the problem, hire a lawyer, send a cease and desist, take them to court. If they're, in the United States, will have a better chance than if you're offshore. But all that is up to you. It's your job to enforce your rights. Um, and so this is all that's happening here. This company spent a lot of money. Westlaw spent a lot of money to create this content, to put it behind a paywall. And when they find out that somebody's, you know, utilizing that information without paying for it, uh, then they have to take them to court. They have to get a lawyer. They have to pay all this money. And hopefully, in this case, it's not overturned on appeal. I'm all for this, for suing these guys who are moving fast and breaking things, or causing problems and asking for forgiveness later. Maybe, but more likely not. More likely just being sociopaths. Okay, well, we did it. We're getting down to the end here. Um, Again, I'm here Monday through Friday. I will be back in 23 hours to check out the job trends, check out the latest in tech news, have some chats with you folks. Um, Reach out to me on LinkedIn if you're so inclined, and we will be back to do this again. Thank you so much for your time, and we will see you tomorrow. Thanks, guys.